We're going to start off in a different direction. You know that one, right? We plan and God laughs.
Mhm.
Um, this is good. This is very alive right now in me. So it makes sense that this is what we're going to start with tonight. We're going to still go into guidance. There's some really juicy material we got in there. And more than that, there's energetic alignment, in case you haven't noticed, hanging out in this space with the rest of us. Hmm.
So when you guys have some space, we want to tell you about this amazing thing that we went to for Christina. It was
Oh yeah,
just, it was so great.
yeah. I think we should do that one on one.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. No, I mean, what a blessing you were able to be there for that.
Oh, wouldn't have missed it.
Holy smokes. I mean, I'm so glad that the few times we got to hang out, we got to know her and hang out. Her vibration was quite high. So it's still running. I could feel it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
we feel it too. And
yeah.
the
It's
day
like
was
unleashed from the constraints of the physical.
The gathering that happened around her was just th- absolutely wonderful to be a part of. It was
Yeah, I bet.
to make these new friends. God, these people that were around her
Yeah.
were so
All right.
touched.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We'll talk. Hello, Mike.
Yeah.
Glad you're here. Did you register your cat?
No, I'm
Then,
really
then
sorry.
you know, I'll let it slide this time. Another couple of minutes.
Right.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
also a bit of trivia. Uh, is that today is Square Root Day. And it's so May 5th, 5525.
Oh,
And it's actually pretty rare. It's a pretty rare thing.
yeah.
It happens very rarely.
Uh,
But
Wow.
today's Square Root Day.
That's pretty cool.
yeah. Yeah.
It's square root day on an arbitrary thing called a calendar, but
Yeah.
it's good. But when we all project enough energy into something, that's how we bring it alive, right?
Right.
That's
That's exactly right. Yeah.
people dismiss object. Well, that's just an object. Well, it is just an object until you infuse your consciousnly into it, and then it's a different story.
Exactly.
Good.
Not a story at all.
Not a story at all. It's an intentional creation, is what it is
There you go.
at that point. And when it's done unconsciously out of fear, they call it superstition.
Yeah.
When it's done when it's done with intention and conscious awareness, it's called consecration.
Got it.
Yeah. In fact,
Got it.
that's so interesting because I return to this theme very often with John and I know Don Rutherford, Don Rosenthal really dropped in my lap. It's served me a lot since then. One of many, many things of his. And he said that the ego makes a cheap copy of all spiritual truths. And you could see it. Like he says, what is called passion and truth is drama in the ego level. Well, in this case, what is called consecration in truth is superstition at the ego level. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, welcome. People will be coming in more. Let's go. So here's the thing, and I'm going to turn this around for a moment. I'm not sure you could all see it, but over there, you can't really make it all out. I built a makeshift altar for today and for my ancestry. And Wendy put hers up there, and including my parents' ashes, which are there right now. And my picture of my grandmother, my mother's mother, and the reason why it's there is because today's her 119th birthday.
Mm.
And my work has recently, especially since the last satsang, I don't know how it is for you folks, but for every one of us in the Bronestery, Wendy, myself, Melissa, there's something, the energies was just coming through and going through bigger, and there's some expansion going on. And for me, it's been showing up as my work being brought to a level internally and with clients to take it to working at a level of ancestry and intergenerational lineage. And the healing level is so powerful because it's at a much higher level of organization than working at an individual. And in fact, there's no such thing as an individual when you look at it from an energy perspective of a single flow. And I'm going to do an entire satsang about that because it's very potent. For now, let's go into a meditation that I'm going to bring through that came through earlier in my meditation today that I'm going to bring to us here. Okay, feel your bodies. Your body sitting here in presence. Here now. Here now. The eternal infinite. Now here. Feel what you feel. No commentary, simply feel what you feel. For what you are feeling at this moment is the totality of your particular intergenerational flow and stream that is passing through now, here, now, through this thing called you. But at the personality level, all you is the culmination of this stream through eons of generations to here and now. There is no past, there is no future, there is only here now. And what you're feeling and sensing and sitting in, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, is the exact energy matrix of the totality of the stream. Let it come in presence. As we sit in presence and awareness, conscious awareness, it's all here right now. Conscious presence awareness is the corrective frequency. It knows how to harmonize everything. The entirety of your ancestral stream is here right now in you, as you, not as you, but in you and through you. For what is here as you is pure awareness. So in that which you are, the infinite pure awareness, we allow the emotional matrix, the ancestral matrix in, and it's held in this infinite space of awareness. Imagine a flow of a river, the stream coming in that linear fashion, and it's been handed down and handed down and handed down, and every answer that stood in that stream added to it, but unconsciously. You, here, now, are the first being in this stream, right here and now, to consciously interact with the stream. Awareness is corrective. Conscious awareness presence is the healer. It's the reharmonizer. It's the strongest field of frequency and energy that entrains everything else to become like it. And so as we sit here and simply be and simply feel and simply allow, it all gets done. Notice there's nothing we actually have to do but simply be here now. And because the totality of this is here now, not in a fictional past or a fictional future, but here now, it's here now. All of it. Going back to the initial separation wound, that you, me, us sitting here in this field together is reharmonizing this energy. And it's immediately retroactive, as the Course in Miracles says. All healing is retroactive. Why? Because there's no such thing as time. There's nothing linear about it. It's here now, and the totality of this energy field is powerfully being entrained upwards and attuned. And it's working through all of us, for all the generations, right here, right now. This is an infinitely powerful field working here right now. And all we have to do is relax into it and surrender into it and welcome it. And in fact, sit in gratitude. And receive the gratitude from the ancestors who are here to be in this with us. The gratitude of the field for us to be here and be used in this way. A tremendous amplification through our entire, which we call history, that shifts it all and clears it all, and that projects into what we call the future and heals it all and shifts it all and clears it all. So from this moment forth, we go forward in a much higher frequency of clarity and coherence. Om Shanti. Amen.
Boom.
Okay. Let that sink in a little. We're the ones. We're the ones. I'm starting to realize that anything that's unhealed in us is essentially unhealed in the emotional matrix, in the family stream. It's what it is. It's not personal. Because when you really sit and get it, there's no such thing as personal. There's just us here, now, conscious awareness that's doing the whole thing. And if you could step into that, no, not if, as you step into that, that alone dismantles the entire narcissistic ego. And that's the end of me thinking I have a problem to solve. The game is much bigger than that. And we're bigger than the entire game. That's the amazing thing. We're not in the game. That's the ego's perception. The game is in us. So we have ultimate responsibility, not in the ego's cheap copy called blame. It's in the soul's pure copy of empowerment. We have the responsibility to process, to just work with anything that's in the field.
Ho'oponopono.
Exactly. Whatever your favorite tool you want to bring to this now is exactly how you're acting responsibly to the field. And the more we surrender, and now, oh, this is beautiful. Thank you. This is how spirit is segueing us into guidance. It's a perfect seam. You're watching guidance in action right here. Us, collectively, drawing in. I just happen to be the rent-a-mouth.
And you do it so well.
I do it well. Thank you. I
You
do.
mean there's,
You can
there's
do it
more
from the
than
chairlift.
more than one?
So let's stick with this. Let's stick with this.
Are you finishing it?
Guidance. Guidance.
Some ice. Okay.
Guidance. What is it? Let me go a little bit with this, and then if anybody did any, looked at any of the questions I sent before and had anything to share from that, I want to open the floor. Because what we're going to do is we're going to spend the evening talking about guidance, and about a half hour before the end, we're going to drop into a guided meditation that brings us into the still point within ourselves. The still point is the center of the center of the center. It doesn't matter how fast it's moving as you go away from that center. It doesn't matter. The center is still. That's our home. So we will guide back into that and strengthen that. So inside of us, I've been getting a lot of downloads of pretty much across my life, but it's been all piecing together here. And basically is the structure of consciousness and how it all works together. And so internally, there's an observer, there's a choosing function, there's an organizing function of information. And there's this choosing function when consciously aware, which is in all of us here, gets to notice that thoughts enter in from two fundamentally different frequencies, if you will, or voices. One is of that of the ego, and one is that of, give it your favorite name, God, Source, Holy Spirit, Irving, it doesn't really matter, but you know what I'm talking about. There's the voice of the lower frequency and there's the higher frequency. And they both come through. They're always here in presence, always, because it's all here right now. And something within us, the choosing function, and Course in Miracles says it's actually true that we unconsciously first choose what we want to see. Then we start to see it. Which is another way of saying, first we put our observation in motion based on intention, and that pulls from the quantum field. It collapses part of the quantum field into our perceptual space. So what I'm saying is, at the conscious choosing level, unconsciously, we are just locked into hearing the ego, and that's all it is. There's no guidance in there. There's frustration and fear and uncertainty, and you know that whole thing. Then there's the voice of the source, of the self, capital S, the one. That is completely accurate and trustable and true because it is the whole. And so moment to moment, we tune ourselves to one of these two frequencies. If you're not aware of it or of this ability to choose, then by default, you tend to get more and more from the ego channel. It turns out that our conscious awareness, as manifested in the physical brain, the brain itself is a filter. All of reality is here right now, but we can't deal with that the way we're designed. We're not supposed to. But the brain filters and focuses on particular frequency and excludes others. But that filter, that brain, is tunable based on our conscious interaction with our self, because the body and the brain is just the downstream effect of the higher order of energy, which is us, consciousness. And that consciousness projects down into the physical body. Now, as we set an intention, and my intention is a great line I have adopted, one of many from Course in Miracles, which is, My mind is open only to the thoughts of God. That sets an intention to tune my filter to the higher frequency. And a filter is just that. A filter only allows through that which it is tuned to let through, and it starts to, and it dissipates, blocks, detunes, de-emphasizes anything else. The default mode for people is they're tuned to the ego and they're detuned to source. Now here's the reason why. If I took the entire thought system of the ego and put it into this bubble, I'm going to have two bubbles right here. The entire thought system is coherent unto itself, meaning everything in the ego's thought system will make sense to itself relative to what it allows itself to believe. Therefore, it thinks that it's seeing reality. And it keeps reinforcing it because it's constantly looking for confirmation bias to reinforce its own hallucination. That's one coherent thought system. There's another coherent thought system. That is the thought of God, the thought system of God, of source, of truth, of holiness, because it is whole. Every moment, every point, holographic, the entire thing. If I were to take the two of them, and I create, and two bubbles here, and I create a Venn diagram from them. And a Venn diagram is that place where the two of them overlap and share a common point. There is none. This is one of the few truly binary choices we get to make. There's no overlap. There are bridging functions to help us go from this unconscious state into the conscious state and choose from that space. That is part of our awakening process. But we all have, everybody on this call has access to this. All you got to do is work with your intention. Now here's what happens. The moment you tune and you intend, my mind is open only to the thoughts of God. Or adopt that to whatever works for you. Non-religious, non-dogmatic. It's a vibrational thing. What happens is you start receiving a download from that. It's all energy flow. It's just that a higher frequency carries a different quality of energy than lower frequency. Ray and I used to work together for a company. We created smart meters, but not smart meters that sent their data over Wi-Fi that freaks everybody out in Santa Cruz unwarrantedly, but that's a separate conversation. But ours talked over the power line. We were able to send high frequency data across the power line and low frequency. Now, low frequency is the electricity, what turns our lights on, 60 hertz. High frequency is what our data went at. This is the same thing. Both frequencies are available right now. And by intention, you tune to which one you want. And getting high quality information in, that's the guidance. Now, what are some of the obstacles that we come up against? Essentially, trust is a big one. To let go and trust this stream knows what it's doing, to carry you along. That's here's the thing though. I'm not talking about when you open to guidance, and everybody here is already tuned into this. We're just making it conscious, because when you turn up the consciousness on it, the whole thing goes up in power. Everybody here has been guided. You may or may not have identified it as such all the times, but here's an interesting thing that I've realized eventually from direct experience. I used to think it's about receiving words, receiving thoughts. No, not simply that. It's every impulse that comes through my entire consciousness into my body, everything that's moving through, the way my cells are being guided, the way I whether make a left turn or a right turn somewhere, the stream of what is coming up for me to choose and decide on, what's even presentable to my perceptual space, what's taking care of the creation and the filtering and the clarification of inner perception and vision. This is all guidance. It's just different attributes of our own being. So when I say opening to guidance, another way of putting it is completely surrender that which we think we are. because what we think we are is based in fear and need to control. And that need to control is the thing that blocks the guidance. There's the conflict. The conflict is essentially until we resolve, which means our energy tips in favor of the higher. The conflict is we vacillate between the lower and the higher along an axis of trust. Can I relax into this? Can I trust this? The ego says, no, I'm the one. Let me keep you safe. That's one of the dialogues. It pulls us one way. The other one says, you are safe. And we vacillate until we stabilize, until our intention. And the process we go through moment by moment is the process of clarification. So we move in our choice. Once we become conscious like this, even the unconscious choices become more gradually conscious. And that increases the stability of the system till our consciousness is more rooted and stable in the truth. And then what an interesting thing that happens is in the earlier days of this, you kind of go, whoa, that was different. And you could say, though, that felt like guidance, and the other times it doesn't. But as it keeps going and it becomes more and more your new norm, everything is guidance. Everything. You can just relax into it and trust it. I was doing the dishes one night and I'm realizing I'm being guided how to move my left hand and my right hand, and I think I'm doing this, but drop that thought. Let it do it through me. That's the other obstacle here that's worth looking at. The I thought that says, I'm the one doing this. Ultimately, you realize that's a phantom thought based on a process by which consciousness reflects upon itself. It creates this phantom I. And then what happens is consciousness gets confused with the ego, and then the ego starts to believe it, and then it believes in itself as a separate self, and there's the reinforcement of the I, but not the true I or the true self as capital S, but the small self as a self-contained, encapsulated, separate entity. And then you get the perception of that, and that's where the confusion comes in. So awakening is the process of the extrication from that identity confusion. And we're all in it. And the more consciously we participate with it and say yes to it, the faster it goes. That's one axis. But we are in a time now where we are riding an energy wave. I would say we're participating in the energy wave that we're riding. That the way it appears to me is like when you want to send a ship to Mars, you aim it at the exact right place of the moon to, what's the right word here? To let the moon's gravity facilitate you slingshotting to Mars. That seems to me what's rising on the planet right now. For those who are tuned to these frequencies. This is happening. That is not for debate in my mind. The only thing up here is open up and let it come in, take me, and trust where it's taking me. That level of trust, that level of surrender, that level of embodiment, as you are in all of that, you are now in alignment with the flow that we're calling guidance. Let that drop in. What is moving through us as we allow it to do what it wants to do, its will, thy will, is beyond anything that we could imagine that's in store for us in the most, I don't even know what word to say. I can't say incredible because that means not credible. Super credible. I got to imagine everybody here knows this. This speaks to you in some way, and you know it's true. Invite that, whatever it is in you, follow it into your body and go through it and invite it more in. That place in your body where you know this to be true is your portal for this frequency. And as we let it in, here's the other piece of the way this guidance is. It keeps adjusting the rest of our energy field to clarify, to purify, which is to say, ground out the noise so that you could see the signal really clearly. And signal begets signal. Noise begets noise. It depends on what we focus on. Yes, there are a lot of people on the planet right now that are amplifying the noise in their consciousness. It is happening. And fortunately, there are way more than were on the planet for doing this in World War II, because I just had a very interesting chat with ChatGPT about that. The coherency level on the planet right now is way higher than it was in World War II. Everything's different. The number of awakened beings on the planet, the coherency, the energy waves, meetings like this, everything going on to amplify the field. We are not individual, separate entities running around trying to be okay. We are nodes of high frequency, high coherence in the mycelium of the mesh of consciousness that is holding this plane right now and working through this plane right now. And when we are surrendered to this, there's no difference between that which we are and the totality of that which is working through us at a high frequency. Just drop into this, right? What's coming, the words that I speak are on behalf of us, because it's all our energy coming through. So the words are a form, a means of transmitting the energy. But that's just on the five senses. Long before it comes out of my mouth, we're sitting in it in the field already. Otherwise, it couldn't come out of my mouth. We're always in this. It's pre-verbal, non-verbal. This is presence. Tune into it this moment right now. Know, learn, open to your own signal. This will greatly accelerate the unfoldment of it. And it will put you exactly where it needs you to be to act as the coherence amplifier wherever the field needs you to be within the world. And that alignment keeps you safe because your magnetic field is strong and tied to the whole. And it gives you everything you need to walk exactly where you're being called to walk. This is not guidance as having a dialogue with yourself, although that's always available. This is profound, deep totality of motion of thy one through that which we call us. And it flows through to the ancestors. Upstream and downstream to the families coming up. To the kids, the grandkids, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, N generations down, N generations back. And the more you embody this, the more you realize we're not alone. We're not operating as a separate entity. the more you realize, the more ridiculous you realize the idea is. Okay. Let me open it up. Share away. Share about your experience with this kind of a thing for yourself.
I don't know, for a minute there, first of all, that was just amazing channeling of something that was really, really profound. So I'm it's hard to find words. I just want to just bask in that for a moment. And it was just, yeah. That which came through you was profound.
Yeah, thank you. We're pretty good, huh? It's dropping into the feeling of it. That's how it all happens. For all of us.
Mhm. You know, my way of looking at this is it encompassed what you said, in that I would go through some thoughts or decision point, and I'd be, the more I thought about it, the more confused I'd get. And I'd ask myself, well, what do I know to be true? That was just a very simple question I'd ask. And if I said it that way, what do I know to be true? All that other stuff seemed to go away, and it was very clear what was true.
Mm,
And and then I followed that.
mm, mm. So that's your interrupt.
That, you know,
That's your interrupt button to shut the ego up. That's very good. Does anybody else want to share their interrupt button? Or anything? I'm happy to sit in silence too.
Yeah, I realized when I saw the topic. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. When I saw the topic, I realized that I don't know if I'm getting guidance, or how, or when, or what. I mean, I must be, and I get quiet and I open up and so on. But I realized, this is something that I'd like to learn more about and get more sense of, you know, um, how to do it. Is there
So,
instruction?
yeah,
Is there an instruction guide?
Well, here's the
The
thing.
owner's manual.
As we just went through this time together, every one of us got an infusion of that frequency and truth. So now it's
Yeah.
not, it was always in us, right? But
Right.
there's something
Yeah.
about taking it from the conscious level that brings it from the unconscious up. And so now you can simply ask it to show you the way for you.
Uh-huh. So
That's
it's just
it.
asking and
There's nothing else
intention.
I can say that
Yeah.
you need to go further now for yourself.
Yeah. Ask and ye shall be shown, or whatever.
And that,
Ask and ye shall receive.
you had to have already been in a receptive enough place in yourself to receive it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's like water off a duck's back.
Yeah.
Yes, Sandy.
Well, that's a point I wanted to share about just in terms of the dynamic of receiving. My experience of that, and then the metaphor I think works really well in terms of, like you have two radio stations or, what are you choosing to listen to? And there's other stations, it's like, oh no, this is the one it's set to. But I find that to enlarge the metaphor about the dynamics of how to receive, it's like, well, how do we make ourselves a good receiver?
Mm.
And there's certain like tactics that I found that can be really effective. And like the starting one is to be as aligned as we can. So like that sense of being embodied, feeling in our body, actually being in our body, which is an interesting concept that could be unfolded in all kinds of ways, but be very much present in our body and then practice at the same time being aware of our emotions at the same time that we're aware of our body and at the same time being aware of our minds, not in this like shut up mind, but like, oh, here I am in my mental state. Here I am in my emotional awareness. Here I am in my physical awareness. And that's almost like in terms of you're going to get a better reception
Yes.
by doing that.
And my
And then the
spiritual
other part
awareness.
of that, it's sort of that same metaphor is in terms of grounding. So, like just in electronics, if you really have to work with dynamics of energy and your grounding makes a really big difference. So there's lots of tactics that there's like visualizations I find can be very helpful. It's like, oh, my feet are roots going down into the earth. But I find that even more effective is actually like walking barefoot on the grass or like sitting next to a tree and actually literally grounding, like putting our physical body on the actual ground is like these are sort of, well, how do we do this? Well, just like any kind of a receiver, those kind of tangible things are actually one way to really help.
Totally on point. Totally on point. The ground, you have to have the grounding because it takes the noise out of your system.
Or
And as you were mentioning, being in alignment physically, emotionally, mentally, is also the spiritual, of course, is that high energy can only enter into the rest of your system to the degree that you're also well grounded.
So
It's electronics 101.
I wanted to share something that Sandy's point, you made me think of that. And from I think my experience has been that as long as I'm trying to listen to that second radio station, thoughts just take over and I get frustrated that I'm not getting what I think I should be getting. And so for me personally, my analogy, again, building on what you just said, is it's actually like turning off the radio and not feeling like I have to listen or tune in and just like really disconnecting, like doing nothing. And the moment I can do that, everything comes and then some.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Right. Right. Unplugging from the outside distraction stream.
Well, just even thoughts, even like high level, whatever, spiritual thoughts. That I think that was for me the trick, because I kept thinking that, as long as I'm, lofty in my desire to connect or listen to the divine, I'm gonna get there. And what I've learned for myself actually just recently was like, no, it's just like really turning off the lights.
Mm-hmm.
It's just being.
I think, yeah, go ahead, finish what you're saying. Sorry.
Which ironically is harder than you think.
Yeah, especially, yes. The
Lovely.
signal, the source guidance signal is always has been, will be present. It's always, it's not about whether that's there. It's about whether, to your point, Maria, we shut off the noise or not. We let go of the noise. One of the great things is you can ask for anything, right? So if I found like my mind's really noisy, it's like, okay, help me quiet down. Help me let this go. Help, 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 help. Show me are two of the most powerful words put together in my particular vocabulary.
So I want to add one more thing to my metaphor.
Sure.
that in terms of like if you actually have a remember those an analog radio, like if you actually have a radio where there's two stations that are kind of near each other, you get interference or you get a lot of static.
Yeah.
So the other part is dealing with the static. And just in terms of pragmatic processes for that, um, it's that awareness of, when we're watching the news or you have a song in your head, like being aware of that, like how we are tuning to static. And there's many examples of what that is, but it's knowing that, how much are we on our phone? I'm just going to be on my phone for 10 minutes. And then we get all of this material coming there. And so that's like having the other station kind of turned up. So the question is like how to both attune ourselves to be a better receiver, but also minimize the static. And if there's like a lot of jabbering, you're around a lot of people that are jabbering, or there's just a lot of fear, like, or if I got to watch the news and then I'm going to meditate, like that's an awareness of, oh, we're bringing static, we're kind of making that louder, and we have static. Not that you can't deal with it, but it makes it harder. So I think what you're saying before is like how to create a space where there's less static. And certainly for me, like one of the most effective is going to the natural world, especially if you can be away from whatever the physical noise, but just doing that. And it doesn't have to be like got to hike out into the backwoods. It's just going there. And my sense of it is like it's presencing it. So it's this, okay, here's I'm in my body, whatever. I'm standing on the shore of the ocean with my feet in the water. Like, oh yeah, I feel my feet sinking into the sand as the water comes on, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm really feeling that. And then, oh well, what feeling is coming? It's like, and it could be, wow, or, oh wait a minute, I remember when I was a kid, and so a wave hit me, and it could be anything. But it's that, what am I feeling right now is part of that tuning, and then noticing also, it's just like, oh, I'm not even, I'm starting to think about I'm not here right now. I'm thinking about, grandma when we were at the beach or something. So it's that attunement and making that a better receiver, but also just allowing the more space, actually, whether it's noise or it's chatter or it's whatever. And so I think using those metaphors very tangibly can actually be very handy in being able to hear better.
Yes. What that makes me want to say is diet matters. And I'm not talking about the foods alone. That does matter, of course. But the emotional diet, the media diet, the energy diet, and the energy at the media, social media, that out there is basically junk food. And to Sandy's point, if the purpose here is to purify and tune ourselves so we could just receive, and we're taking in, if you're spending 40% of your day taking in junk, then you're going to spend a fair amount of that other 60% clearing the junk. Now, it's so much easier to just don't take the junk in the first place. We don't have to be as plugged in as everybody's fear says we have to be. In fact, I'm telling you, it's important to not be. If you need to be moved somewhere because of something that's going down and you're still supposed to be in the body, don't worry about it. You'll be moved. If it turns out that it's time for you to leave, don't worry about it. You're going to leave. So there's nothing to worry about. If I need to know something going on in the news, don't worry about it. It'll find its way into me. But if I don't need it, I don't want it. Because back to our earlier stage of being a node, a conscious node within the consciousness mycelium, you don't just get to radiate whatever you want regardless of your diet. What you're radiating is the totality of your diet on every level. And so I personally feel that it's My responsibility, I have the ability to choose and respond to keep my energy field as clear as possible because I am a source into the mycelium. So are each one of us. Source is coming into us from the pure. It goes through our perceptual layers, our energy level that's containing, our karma and the mind and the emotions and our inputs and everything. That that adds to the quality of the energy, changing it in some fundamental way. And then it goes out of us into the field. So we're very active. We have a high responsibility to keep this energy field clear. So in my view, it's not optional. I'm done with that decision. Now it's about, okay, do I need to hear, what does it feel like, what's coming in? How's this affecting my energy? As soon as I feel it starting to tell me no, and it's very easy. When you start to pay attention to the feeling state in the way that Sandy was talking about, and you just you're automatically aligned with this whole thing, you get a very clear feeling of the difference in the vibration of the high vibrational source signal and the low vibrational ego signal. And I don't mean ego as an individual, collectively. Again, drop the idea that there's a bunch of individuals running around. That's an illusion. Yeah, Sandy, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I'm thinking a lot, but to the point of that sense of responsibility that what we're doing does vibrate into the field. I feel like it's true. I feel like it's really important though. That can be just like, oh my God, oh no.
Well, that's simply the ego getting
one
its
more
hands
point.
on it.
And though the other part of this is that it's not just how can I, whatever, just be aligned and attuned and receiving, because being in the field means that one way to be in the field is to bring joy. It's like when we can be in a joyful place in the field. That is such a powerful resonating. If you've had that experience, you're around and there's some kids playing, they're happy, the energy shifts. So it's not just this like, oh my God, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to be aligned and I'm going to help
No,
that
no,
collective.
no. You're
There's
actually
that
channeling.
place around how do we bring that, and what is joy? Joy is what you are, bringing forth what you feel in that feels right to who you are. And that is very, very potent. So there's that blending of like there's practices that really can help us, but part of the practices is like, yeah, have a good time, but in that joyful way that's coming from your essence. So it's good to balance this of how we have to respond, because it can feel overwhelming, because it is overwhelming. But that's an important piece, I feel like, to really be conscious.
Number one, you're channeling the article I just wrote and sent out a few nights ago. Number two, that's why the title of the article is "Joy is Not Optional." That's what, to your point, that's what carries us through. But the thing is, doing this alignment work and this and that is not drudgery. It's not. If it is, it's the ego trying to do it.
Yeah.
There's a good thing to notice. If it's heavy, it ain't from source.
If it's a should.
If it's a should, you could feel it. Again, I think this is an important part of this whole thing around guidance, is training your awareness to feel the difference in the quality of the energies that are around and that you're taking in or that you're emanating. That guides your choice. If it feels good, it's coming from higher frequency. If it feels bad, it's not. But I want to qualify that.
Yeah.
Because the ego is endless in its capacity to make a cheap copy of all spiritual truths for its own purpose. The ego's
and then to take credit for it.
That too. But the ego's idea of feeling good is the basis for addiction. This is not what I'm talking about. There's a difference in the quality. Love feels good. Fear feels bad. That's pretty much that simple.
Don Rosenthal.
Mm-hmm.
Don Rosenthal.
We just went to North Carolina for the truly a celebration of the life of one of the most joyful people we know. Eric knows this
Yeah.
lady. She just passed away, and she left a circle of friends who were so attracted to her circle that we just came together in joy around her. It was the most wonderful gathering, and I got that I was guided to be there. I was not going to miss this.
Mhm.
And
Who
we
is this person?
her name was Christina Hardy, Baish Hardy. She was married to a wonderful man too, who put this gathering together with a lot of other people.
Well,
And to be part,
Chris is the one who wrote LSD and the Mind of the Universe.
there we are. Yeah.
He's an amazing human being.
And
Findings of
so we
heaven.
gathered with all these people who consciously were attracted to this lady's amazing, wonderful, joyful energy around seeing her out of here. And she was so present
Mhm.
with all of us. And each one of us shared around the circle after the ceremony of planting a tree with her ashes. That was just absolutely wonderful to be a part of and to connect with these people sequentially afterward. It's like I just expanded my circle.
Mhm.
And so looking forward to having them here and going back. We're going to go back for the change of autumn. This place, Asheville, is kind of the Santa Cruz of North Carolina, and it's just a lovely, beautiful. It's where I'm from. My roots are in that area, and it was like coming home for me. And it's like um in my practice of being in all my senses, it's like claiming all of that to expand into this whole other sense of all that is the intuitive, clairvoyant, clairaudient, whatever, that is claiming my senses in these three dimensions expands, allows the expansion into the um, greater dimension,
I'm
which
going to say what feels to me like what you're saying is that you, through going to be in Christina's celebration, you have absorbed and expanded your capacity for joy to be present in you right now.
yeah, and I
That,
feel her with me. I
yeah.
mean, she's become a major component of my pantheon.
She's part of your ancestral line now.
Right.
All of actually ours too, because we know her.
Mhm.
Yeah. No,
We felt you present, by the way, Eric.
thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to be there, but
Can we invite other people to share like an
yeah, if
experience of
anybody
joy?
else,
That would be great. I'd really love to hear what's
another
come up for
few
people.
minutes and then we're going to start up that meditation. Anyone else?
I actually wanted to talk about the comments someone made about having a roadmap, because that's the way I see life. There's a road, we all have a roadmap. We're guided all the time. And for me, all I have to do is ask what I don't even have to ask. Because as Sandy talked about the body, I get clear yeses, I get clear nos. When I have a choice, I just ask. And maybe it goes back to years of painting. I always asked what's next when I was looking at my canvas. And I do that in my art, I do it in life. Sometimes I ask without even knowing because suddenly I get the answer and realize, oh, somewhere in the quiet inner landscape, I just asked. And then I get guidance on where to go next and what to work on next and what to say yes to and what to say no to. I feel like we all have that. And one of the key elements, I think, is the more you're aware of the messages that are coming to you, the more you trust. And the more you trust, the more you hear what's coming next. And sometimes it comes through, you open a book at the right time. Or for me recently, I was going through a cabinet and found a book I do not remember buying. I don't remember starting to read, but it was the perfect book at the perfect time with exactly what I needed. Those kind of things happen every day. So I believe they happen for all of us. It's just getting used to picking up on all those messages. And I don't think, yes, I meditate every morning, but I don't think it's because I meditate. It's because I know that those messages are there. I know the guidance on my next step is there. And I'm always asking, like the littlest little thing I ask. It's just, as we've probably said, tuning in.
I had a strange experience last year. Following along what you said, Wendy, is I was going through a life transition, and a friend of me recommended a book to read. So I ordered the cheapest copy I could get off of Amazon or wherever, $2.99 or something. And as I went through it, it actually was originally sold in somewhere in the UK, and somehow it made it to the States. And periodically through the book, there were notations, and every single one related to what I was going through at the time. It was so unbelievable, and then there were 4 books in the series. And so I ordered the next one, the second one, and the third one, and the same thing. Random choices where I picked them, but each one had highlighted stuff that really fit what I needed and what I was going through, and kind of was an affirmation that I was doing the right thing.
Mm.
And then when I got the 4th book, there was no notation at all. I was so disappointed.
Mm.
What was the name of the book?
It was the Celestine Prophecy.
Oh, of course.
Most of you have probably read.
Right. Right.
I do want to share. I do have a way to. We were talking about going way back to interrupting the chatter or whatever.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, all I have to do is just kind of repeat the words about how it feels to be in that open, observer kind of state. So if I just say to myself, open, expanded, light, free, calm, quiet, just a few of those words, and then it's just, kind of remember and imagine, and there it is.
Mm.
So that's that.
It's good. They're your anchors.
Yeah. The way to open it.
I wanted to just share something that's
Yeah, go ahead.
meaningful to me. It's another way of saying and encapsulating everything that's been discussed, everything that you shared, Eric. But it's something that means a lot to me. So Baba Haridas, my teacher, would always say, the guru is within. And that's obviously what you've been sharing. But to me, that's like kind of a little mantra in a way. And to go inside and just feel the guidance. And when it resonates in my heart, I can just feel it really deeply. And that's kind of the reminder I like to just say is the guru is within.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ramana Maharshi says God, Guru, and Self is all one and the same.
Right.
Capital S, of course. Yeah. Yeah, it's really true.
Okay.
Great. Okay, I'm going to start up this meditation. 27 or so minutes. I'm going to mute everybody.
So now I invite you all to settle into physical stillness. Becoming sensitive to your own breathing as you inhale and exhale. Just like a gentle wave as it rises and falls in this vast ocean of stillness. As you settle and stop, you might become aware of things still moving internally and externally. Allowing whatever comes to come and whatever goes to go. We don't have any contention, any resistance to anything. What does that feel like? Not to resist anything, to demand anything, to want anything. Such that we're like a big open field. Anything can come. And it's in its nature that it naturally dissolves into this wide open field. So you're sitting here. You can call it practicing meditation. But really you're just sitting here with absolutely no agenda, no trying, not expecting to get anything. Just noticing, simply witnessing whatever comes, whatever goes. Can you sense the still point in all of these movements? Whether internal or external, so-called. You might have a perception of it as being like the center or the still point in the eye of a hurricane, the eye of the storm. Can you sense that? Even though in essence it's not locatable, we can intuit it. In some traditions, they refer to it as the heart. Can you rest into your own heart? That still point. That still point doesn't really have anything to say. But this silence is really the most authentic language. And you have to know it for yourself. That still point doesn't have any views or opinions, likes or dislikes. No desires. Because resting within it brings complete relief. It quenches all desires. when we rest back into this, if a certain desire does pop up in the mind, it has no inclination to run after them, as it's completely satiated. Content just to rest here. Nothing worth thinking about, nothing to do, nowhere to go, and no one to be. Things still come and go, but they don't sway you. Just like that eye of the hurricane. Everything's swirling around, and yet there's something deep within the center that remains untouched. So this is all our practice is intended to do. Just to help us come back to this. To learn to recognize the still point. And that's a little easier to do when we sit in stillness and stop the movement. But the more we practice, we can recognize the still point, even in the midst of movement. It's just changing perceptions. And even if you have the highest peak experience of bliss or love or ecstasy, or the deepest hell of pain or fear, terror or grief, guess what? That still point doesn't move. The highs come and go. The lows come and go. None of these ecstatic experiences are permanent. None of the visits to hell are permanent. The still point is the only constant that you know or recognize in all of those experiences. So it's the only thing you can rely upon. And this is why the Buddha said to make this Dharma, this truth, your refuge or your island in the midst of the tumultuous sea of samsara. No teacher, no guru, no drug, no peak experience can either give you this or guarantee that it will be yours for good. So we stop looking outside or relying on external things to reveal reality. And we simply just come home to what is so natural, so obvious. And what might appear nothing special starts to reveal itself more and more as we keep shedding all the layers of confusion, attachment, identification, delusion. all the running, 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 and just stop. And when we really stop, completely stop, then we drop deeper and deeper down, deep into the stillness. And it all just happens. As Ramana Maharshi says, we're pulled deep into the current where we actually have no control. We've let go of the controller. Recognizing that there's no one making it happen other than the power of wisdom and love itself. So when you feel ready, you can just slowly come out of the meditation. But recognizing that even though the perceptions are changing, that we're taking in more visuals or sounds or moving the body, nothing really changes at the deepest level. That still point is always there.
Okay. Much love to you all. Thank you for being here.